Your Excellencies and distinguished guests, good morning. Unfortunately, I can't, my German is not very good, so I can't say it in German like Mr. Klaus. Before I start my remarks, which I took time to write down, I would like to just respond a bit to some of the things that were said. I will try and keep it short, keeping in mind that the Honorable Minister has a hard stop, or hard start. Firstly, Madam Katrina, who really excited us by saying she's going to launch something fantastic. I think it's very dangerous to do that in Nigeria because I was expecting a huge gift for all attendees. So when the fireworks started, I thought people were going to start coming in and hand over bags. So just something to take note. And then Mr. Klaus, your remarks, I think, is quite exciting, but at the same time, I would like to give a different perspective. This is a country of 200 million people, and I think the diversity of this country and the unique challenges confronted by citizens of this country in all locations is something that needs to be factored as we discuss matters. Giving skills is fantastic, but also depending on where you are giving those skills is also important. Ultimately, the biggest challenge we have is many Nigerians are also not investing in their own ideas. So no matter how skilled people are, if there are no places to apply those skills, it becomes a problem. Most Nigerians today would rather put their money, the ones with liquidity would rather put their money in treasury bills, in the stock market, Euro bond, whatever it is. But the Nigerian Stock Exchange itself, with 168 companies, 4 companies account for 65% of the trade as of last year. So when we talk about we're going to give them skills, we're going to educate them, we're going to give them this fantastic, those that are in a position to invest, for me to have a job, somebody has to create it. And so when government over-recruits, because the private sector, those people with the liquidity to create the jobs, are not putting their monies where their mouth is, then we end up in this vicious cycle of people having skill, having talent, having education, but nowhere to apply it. So we ourselves have to look. The German economy itself is established on skills and SMEs together creating jobs. It's not about Siemens or BASF, no. It's about those, I think you call them middle start, that drive the economy. And that's what we need to do. Nigerians themselves have to believe in Nigeria, invest in Nigeria, create jobs for Nigerians so that yourselves, GIZ, etc., can provide them with that feed through that they need to grow. I just felt it is important that I make those 2 remarks, that Katrina, she owes me a hamper, and we should also look at the big picture. Now I'll go through my remarks. First of all, I'm very pleased and excited to be invited by my friend to discuss, from my own personal point of view, 2 of the most important issues facing Nigeria today, which are climate and its consequence on agriculture and food security. I'm sure over the past few days you've heard many interesting and appealing statistics about Nigeria, its GDP, its vibrant and energetic youth, and its potential to generate this, that, and the other. It's very exciting. But what really catches everyone's attention when you talk about Nigeria is our 200 million people. For most sectors such as manufacturing, mining, banking, ICT, retail, and many more, the business plans and financial models typically assume if you target X% of the population or sell to Y% of a particular demographic, you will succeed. However, in my sector, which is food and agricultural security, our business plan is very simple. We are targeting 100% of the population. Everyone must eat. I'm not sure whether we have solar-powered people yet. Maybe they are working on it somewhere in a lab, but so far, food is a necessity. Our company, the Tropical General Investment Group, is an international holding company based with our office headquartered here in Lagos. And that's about it, our headquarters. Our founder and chairman, Mr. Cornelis Vink, is a Dutch national. He came to Nigeria in 1980, importing chemicals. And as he traveled around Nigeria, he discovered the vast appetite for Nigerians to produce and consume. I want to emphasize, he traveled around Nigeria. He did not stay in Lagos or Abuja or Port Harcourt. He didn't wait for the opportunities to come. He traveled and he found them. And this is the story of most of the successful European countries, whether it's the Danish, whether it's the Portuguese, Spanish, they all traveled seeking opportunities. They created havoc, but they went out there seeking for those opportunities. And that is why this delegation is here again, looking for those opportunities. That corporate nomadism attitude is what led us today. We are over $1 billion business. From Lagos, we control Benin Republic, Ghana, Cote d'Ivoire, India. We have an operation in Germany, Vietnam, China, and the United Arab Emirates. Mr. Vink and the Pioneer team quickly discovered in Nigeria that sustainable success comes through inclusive investments. They focused on staples and the basic necessities, locally sourced raw material, and local labor. This led to the group gradually transitioning from an import-focused business to a business that significantly leverages local resources for both the local market and export. And in the last 3-4 years, we've actually been transitioning again from export to local. 200 million people is no joke. That's like Western Europe, I think. And so feeding them is equivalent to exporting to probably 20 countries in Europe. Our business does not target Nigeria. We target Nigerians. Our operations are in all states of Nigeria, and we continue to expand. We are actually growing. We are building new factories, and we are recruiting. For example, of this inclusivity that I'm talking about, we have seeds and agrochemicals, fertilizers, and animal feeds facilities that serve farmers. Then we have rice mills, oils mills, seasoning cube factories, meat processing facilities that buy from these same farmers. We then have retail and distribution outlets that once again sell the products back to the farmers and the consumers. This is inclusivity and this is impactful. And as a result, we are sustainable, we're growing. Our value chain directly and indirectly deals with millions of Nigerians, millions. And we worked with the likes of GIZ, we're working with the USAID in developing these skills. Now let me digress. We have probably the largest rice mill facility in West Africa or maybe Africa. It is located in Argungu, which is in Kebbi State, halfway between Kebbi and Sokoto. And when we started this factory, nobody there has ever worked anywhere. They don't know how to run the machines. They don't know how to do anything. So we are not only creating jobs, we had to create the skills to fill those vacancies. Same thing in Auchi, same thing in Funtua, same thing in Gombe, same thing in Shagamu. Everywhere we go, when we start, we are pioneers and we have to create everything else around us. So if Nigerians are investing, the skills will come through the training and the necessary support. Now, apologies for this digression. Nigeria adopted an aggressive self-sufficiency strategy from 2015. And slowly but surely, our farmers have started to produce and more processors are coming on board. And eventually, many Nigerians are consuming Nigerian-made food. As a result, millions of livelihoods have been improved, And farmers who historically did not invest in inputs are spending on seeds, fertilizers, agrochemicals. Our revenues are growing as a sector and customer base is expanding. And we have delegations coming from Benin Republic, from Niger, from Cote d'Ivoire, from Ghana to see what we're doing here in Nigeria on food security and backward integration. The impact of this is most evident during the COVID-19 pandemic, when the whole world shut down. But most of our shelves did not remain empty. People continued to eat. Yes, there were shortages, but Nigerians were eating. And because our borders were restricting this illegal importation, that is what fed our neighbors who were also reliant on imports. So the expectation that some of the think leaders was that, oh, we're all going to be falling on the streets, dying of hunger or killing ourselves, did not materialize because we were able somehow to get through it ourselves. But as Nigeria continues to work hard to feed itself, climate change directly and indirectly is working hard to stop Nigeria and the Sahel region from achieving this goal. Almost every part of Nigeria is experiencing the contradictory and destructive impact of climate change. As some areas get flooded, others experience drought. And in between those areas, we have erratic and unpredictable rainfall. Regardless, crops are destroyed, grazing areas are dried up or become too swampy for animals to feed on. Fishing communities get dislocated due to floods, and our lakes dry up due to desertification. For millions who live in these remote communities, climate change is no longer a news headline. It is a matter of life and death. And there's nowhere more evident than Lake Chad, where it shrunk by over 85% from its original size. Millions have lost their livelihoods. They've been displaced. And there's been significant radicalization of teeming youth in the region who are recruited to serve as foot soldiers. The direct correlation between climate change and insecurity is not unique to Nigeria alone. I mean, Germany experienced some major floods last year. We've seen it, very destructive and very sad. But as the saying goes, every problem is also an opportunity in disguise. From my own point of view, no sector is positioned to address the security and socioeconomic challenges confronting the Sahel region like agriculture, as financial security, food security, and ultimately national security. Germany is the largest manufacturing economy in Europe. I just read this morning in the Financial Times that because of the COVID resurgence in Germany, your growth rate is expected to decline, which will impact the entire EU region. It is massive. This is not by accident, and it did not happen overnight. Many of us in this room have a certain level of respect and maybe obsession with German cars, for example. They remain great ambassadors of German capability and capacity. And nothing describes this like the popular German phrase that was used in Audi adverts of the past, Vorsprung durch Technik. I hope my pronunciation is correct. It means advancement through technology or progress through technology. I'm on time, don't worry. Yeah. Progress through technology. Our value chain, especially the input and processing of things, needs this Vorsprung durch Technik approach. It's not specifically talking about farming, because we all talk about give farmers tractors. But that's actually not what we need to be talking about, because for every tractor, you are creating 9, 10 people unemployed in rural Nigeria. The poorest of the poor in those villages are widows and orphans. They don't go to school. The only thing they do is they go there and they weed, they plow, they do manual labor on the farms for 500 naira a day. So when you are looking for efficiency, oh, let's bring a tractor and like a drone. These 8 guys per hectare become unemployed. And then as the Commissioner of Education mentioned, they find their way to Lagos and population starts to grow. So efficiency, when we talk about enhancement, we have to also factor in the realities that exist. Our farmers need higher yields, they need higher productivity so that they can employ more manual labor. Our processors need to have more efficient and environmentally friendly plants and factories that are also affordable. And what is interesting about Germany is most of the innovation that they have to enhance their own economy comes from not the big global brands, but from smaller independent businesses called the Mittelstand. These firms form the backbone of the German economy, supported by vocational training that provides them with the labor so that they innovate, so that they sell to the big guys. In Nigeria's stage of evolution, we need more exposure to these Mittelstand businesses, these firms, especially in the agricultural sector. Most of our big businesses in this country are big by our own standards, but they don't even compare to some of the medium-sized or smaller entities in Germany. So we're not comparing apples to apples. So as we move in this forum, we need to now start bringing apples to apples. Like I always say, we don't need tanker ships, we need more nimble speedboats in terms of our economic progress. And working with this Mittelstand, we can develop innovative solutions to our own unique Nigerian problems. A solution developed by Germany may not work for us. However, a solution developed with German companies will definitely work for us. And I want to just give a small example here of how my psyche changes. How many minutes do I have?
3 or so.
Okay, yeah, I'm done. In one of our projects, we went to one of these communities where we supply them with input to farm for us. And as part of our CSR, we said, you know what, we're going to fix your school, we're going to build wells, put roofs, give students uniforms, etc. Fantastic, everybody was happy. But as we were leaving, the village head came to me and said, do we have a say in how you can support us? I thought to myself, well, you know, you should, right? So I said, yes, go ahead. What are your views? And he said, can we scrap the school idea and all this? Sure, what do you want? He said, can you put a fence and drainage around our cemetery? Because it is located in a slope. And during the rainy season, the water comes and washes away the shallow graves. And wild dogs come and feast. And that's on the way to the valley where we farm. And all of us know that is the final destination for us. So if you could do this, we are loyal for life. Until now, 100% recovery from that community, 100% appreciation, and excitement whenever we show up for that farming season. The process of getting to that synergy is not a revolution, and we all talk about revolution, it's an evolution. And that is the story of German success. It is evolutionary. There's a company called Graf von Faber-Castell, which is a pencil maker in Germany, 260-year-old pencil company, the best in the world. They started 260 years ago, and it's still family-owned, and it's still running. So this evolutionary journey is about people, processes, and products, and it cannot happen overnight. So my prayer is for this forum, in this room, to adopt an evolutionary, peer-like approach to dealing with Nigeria's journey. May we have a 200-year success story between these organizations. Thank you very much.
Excellent. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you, Mr. Farouk Gumel, for a very good presentation. I hope you're going to be around for a little longer, because I'm sure that your presentation would have triggered some questions and some thoughts. Can you give us half an hour? Half an hour, please. All right, thank you very much indeed. Another round of applause for Mr. Farouk Gumel for another very practical presentation with very good examples. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to have to, we've made a bit of an executive decision to switch round the panels, and the reason for it is very simple. We have the Honourable Minister for Works and Housing coming on at 11, and that feeds into a panel that we've arranged around that particular presentation, and he wants to very much be involved in that panel himself. So we're going to push the panel 10, Sustainable Agriculture as a Pillar for Economic Development, and make that now panel 11, and we're going to bring the impact of skills development on sustainability of the Nigerian construction industry. We're going to bring that forward, and with that I'm going to invite the panelists for that panel to come up and join us on stage, please. Mr. Gumel, once again, thank you very much for an excellent presentation, very practical, and I've certainly got some questions for you, and I'm sure others have as well. Okay, so do we have the panel 11 construction panel members here? So the moderator is Ewoma Oloye, the head of corporate services, Construction Kaiser Limited. Is Ewoma here? Oh, you're going to be doing it? Okay. Excuse me. Mr. Gumel, I understand that you have to leave, but I did want to take the opportunity to see if there are any questions for you, and microphone is making its way towards you now. Klaus, I don't know if you had any questions, because there was some commentary from Mr. Gumel on your presentation, but if 2 or 3 questions would suffice, just so that we get a sense of what that presentation was about and how we can really leverage it. Can I have a show of hands? Question for Mr. Gumel? Okay, show of hands. Oh yes, there's one at the back. Can you make your way towards the microphone, if you don't mind, please? Just for, in the interest of time, if you have a comment, come to the microphone if it's not coming to you. Any other questions? Any other questions? Hands up, please. Okay, just tell us who you are so that Mr. Gumel knows who you are and where you're coming from, and also for the rest of us, and then ask your question. And I'd prefer it if it was just a question with a short commentary, perhaps. Thank you.
Yeah. Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Gumel, for that wonderful keynote address. My name is Dana Mayaki, and I work for Agriac in commodity trading and also pharmaceuticals. I have visited Chi, and I presume that Chi is a subsidiary of TGI.
No, we sold it in 2015.
As at then, I visited.
Sorry, which Chi? The farms or
yes,
the
the pharmaceuticals.
Oh, pharma. Okay, yeah, go ahead. Yes, we still on it.
So yesterday we were on the panel with the NSI chairman in charge of healthcare development. And he mentioned the lack of pharma.
There's a chairman and NSI?
The director for healthcare.
Okay. Maybe I thought there was a coup and they took me out.
No, sorry about that.
Okay, yeah.
So he mentioned that pharmaceutical acceptable excipient, that's the starch, is still being imported into Nigeria today. So being that I think Wakot is also a subsidiary, and you guys are doing the rice mill in Kebbi State and a whole lot of processing plants everywhere. Do you have plans to go into that as well soon?
Well, you know, active pharmaceutical ingredients are different from food. The processing science and technology is completely different. So just because one value chain business is doing something, it doesn't necessarily mean we will be supplying cheap pharmaceuticals in that respect. But we are always, as an entrepreneurial business that is continuously looking, we're always looking at how to extract significant value from our products. So like our rice mill today, the husk is our electricity generation. We use the husk to make electricity. We use some of the broken rice to give it to the women in the community who started making their own branded rice for their own local consumption. For example, lake rice is from our factory that we make. We have different products depending on the items that come out of it. So your question whether Wakot is going to be supplying cheap pharmaceuticals, the honest answer is no. Whether we will do it at some point, as technology evolves, as capacity and competence comes into play, likely.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Right. Good morning, everybody. My name is Ezekiel Olajumoke, and I'm the lead consultant with NG Snails. First, I would like to thank you for the practical speech. Now, we're working with outgrower farmers doing our snails. So what we do at NG Snails, we ensure that snails are available all year round, be it rainy season or dry season. So we partnered with outgrower farmers, but we are having issues with inventory theft. So how are you able to mitigate inventory theft when you worked with the outgrower farmers back then? And
You do snail?
yes, we do snails.
Where?
At Ogun State, Ajebo and Agbowa.
So theft is also a matter of fairness. If the people, from our own experience, I mean, we don't do snails, so I wouldn't know how that sector is or the kind of people that work in that sector. But if, for example, a farmer harvests today, there are two types of recovery. The first recovery is the percent, if I gave him an input's worth 100,000 naira. So the first layer of recovery is I've collected my 100,000 naira worth of inputs back. The second layer of recovery is now what percentage of his total harvest am I recovering back? Now, in our own case, when we show up at harvest in Jigawa, Kebbi, Gombe, Katsina, Kaduna, when we buy the items from them, because these are individual farmers, we immediately now employ them as the megats for those stock till we've aggregated enough to come and carry all of them together. So all of a sudden, from a supplier, you are now an employee. You sign off that, okay, fine, you've paid me, you've transferred ownership, and then all of a sudden, he's still sitting there waiting for you to come and evacuate. Sometimes they even call you. We try as much as possible not to buy 100% of their harvest because that's also their savings account. So what happens is, for those farmers that only do one season harvest, which is wet season, that's their only salary in the year. So what he does is sometimes he splits the harvest into 3 or 4 categories. The first one is he pays back the debt, which is the one that I said, our first layer of recovery. The second one is he meets his own personal needs. Maybe his daughter is getting married, maybe there's some medical bills, the roof is leaking, whatever it is. The third layer is also he may sell them to buy other grains that he needs, because if you're a maize farmer, you're just not going to eat maize all year. And then the fourth layer is savings accounts, which is where if prices go up, he brings out some here in case of emergency, rainy day, fund kind of thing. So I think it's all about how you engage these people, the level of fairness that you give them. Don't expect somebody to sell something to you at 10,000 naira if the market price is 12. And don't expect somebody who's holding your stock at 12,000 naira to see it go to 14,000 naira and assume that this person may not be tempted. So you have to have your value chain right, and you have to also factor in that people are human, and humans ultimately want to succeed. Thanks.
Thank you very much indeed. A round of applause for Mr. Gumel. I do want to share, thank you very much. I want to share a very short story as to why I think these question and answer sessions are so important. And whilst I'm doing that, if the panelists for the construction panel could come up, I'd be most grateful. So there was a very eminent German professor of medicine who went to many presentations. He was invited to come and speak in many different places. And he started to get a little bit wary of speaking So he made a deal with his driver that, you know, the next session I have, you will speak because you've heard it so many times, and I will sit at the back. And of course, thank you. The driver came up and he delivered the most amazing medical presentation anyone had ever heard. It was fantastic. There's only one problem. There's always one person at the back who asks a question. So that one person stood up and said, I have a question. And of course, this guy became very nervous. And he was asked a relatively complicated question. And the way the professor handled it, or the way the driver handled it, was he said, that is such a basic question. Even my driver can answer it. And of course, the driver stood up and answered the question, and there were no more questions. So thank you very much indeed for your time. We've really enjoyed your presentation and your participation in the Q&A session. I wish you a safe journey back to Kano. Thank you.